how are you? This is Lois. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're well and safe wherever you are. And today I want us to talk about language testing for Canadian immigration. And today we shall look at two programs that require language testing. And that is the skilled immigrants, especially express entry. And we are also going to look at students who needs the language testing, especially for students, and what are the skill sets that are needed in your language testing, whether it's English or French. What are the benchmarks that you require? Okay, so I am a regulated Canadian immigration consultant and I'm based here in Calgary, Alberta. And I do offer these kind of videos for education purposes only. This is not legal advice. If you have any immigration question or you need legal advice, kindly head on to our website www.mileleimmigrationservices.ca and book yourself a consultation, and I'll be happy to meet with you one-on-one. We discuss your question because every question and every profile is unique, so I would need more details about you before I can give you that professional advice. Anyway, so thank you guys for subscribing. If you have subscribed, if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing, like and share this video. And let us talk about the language testing needed for skilled immigrants in Canada. And of course, now we have some new changes with the language requirements that I think you want to be aware of, okay? For you to qualify under the skilled immigrants, you must prove your language skills by taking an approved language test. So immigration has given out a list of the approved language tests, and those are the ones that we want to be looking at. And for you to do that, you need to schedule your test with an agency that is approved by IRCC, and you need to pay the required cost for that test with that agency. And then of course you are going to require to get the official results after you sit for your language, and that is what you use for your application, your immigration application. Of course, you need to know that these language tests, they have a validity period of 2 years. So make sure that by the time you're applying for any immigration program, that your language tests are valid. So IRCC accepts the following English exams right now. They do take CELPIP, and CELPIP is the Canadian English Language Proficiency Index program. And that is like the universal program done here in Canada. It's not readily available in a lot of countries abroad. Some countries do have it, but very few. And you need to take the CELPIP general test, okay? And then of course we have the famous IELTS, or we call it IELTS, and that is the International English Language Testing System. And you need to take the general training option because it comes into two. There's the academic and the general. So for immigration purposes, you want to take the general test. And then we have the PTE, that is the newly added language test. This one was just added a few weeks ago. And PTE Core, that is the Pearson test of English, okay? And you need to take the PT core option. And then of course, because Canada is bilingual, it accepts English and French, so whichever, if you're bilingual, the better. So for French, they accept two types of testing, and one is the famous one, the TEF, and of course, we also have the TCF Canada, okay? Again, all these tests have to be valid for 2 years. So if your test is outdated or it's almost expiring, it's in your best interest to take up a new test so that by the time you're applying, you'll have the right validity, okay? Always remember, if you're applying through the express entry profiles are valid for 1 year, after which they expire, and you will need to renew your profiles. Now, you know, one thing I want to touch on is everybody says you need at least a CLB7, okay? And a lot of people ask me, Lois, what is a CLB7? How do I know what a CLB7 is when you're looking at all these, acceptable tests? So we are going to look at the English language, what is a CLB7 for you. So for CELPIP, You need, and you know what? One thing I need to tell you there, when you're looking at the CLB, you don't want to look at the overall CLB. You want to look at individual CLB, whether it's for reading, writing, speaking, or listening. And therefore, when you go to CELPIP General, a CLB 7 means that you have 7, 7, 7, 7 across the board. So 7 reading, 7 writing, 7 listening, and 7 speaking. That is the CLB 7. And I'm just going to give a CLB 7 because that is the minimum requirement for federal skilled worker programs. Okay, for you to get into the express entry, that is the minimum CLB required. I usually tell you guys it's in your best interest to get a higher CLB than that. But if you have a 6, 7, 6, 7, then you don't have the right CLB. The minimum is 7, 7, 7, 7 across the board. And then we go to IELTS. IELTS general training. What is the equivalence of a CLB 7? It's reading 6, writing 6, listening 6, and speaking 6. So if you get everything across the board, 6, 6, 6, 6 in IELTS general, that is equivalent of a CLB 7. And then of course now with the new PTE core, what are the equivalents of a CLB 7? Reading, it's a range. So this one is going to go by a range. So reading is 60 to 68, writing 69 to 78, listening 60 to 70, and speaking 68 to 75. Okay, I'm gonna touch a little bit on the TCF again. So TCF is the French exam, and you find that the CLB 7 equivalence of TCF is reading 453 to 498. Then writing is 10 to 11, listening 458 to 502, and speaking 10 to 11. Okay, my friends? So that is all about the language requirements for immigration purposes. And quickly, I want to touch on the language testing requirements for international students. Now, one thing I want you to note is that not every student coming to Canada is going to be required to take an English exam. You know, at times people come to me to a consultation, they've already done an English test. At times they have done the wrong one, and at times they've already paid, they've done it, and they didn't even need it in the first place. So before you go spend your $300, I tell you, please understand whether you actually need that language test or not, okay? For students in Canada, you don't need the tests that you need, they must be catered for academics, not for immigration. So you realize that those tests for immigration won't apply when you're coming here to study. So let's say you have a dual intent, like you want to apply for immigration and at the same time you want to apply for studies, then if your school is going to need an English exam, then most likely you will have done one for immigration and another one for international studies. Okay, so understand that. So again, not all schools need a language score test. Not all countries, so not your country of origins requirements, especially when you're applying for a study permit or even school admission, because those are two different things. There's school admission and then there's the study permit application. Understand whether based on your country of origin you do need that language test. A lot of countries where English is like their formal language, you're not required to undertake an English exam, and there's a lot of other countries whereby you are exempt from providing an English exam. Okay, my friend? Okay, not necessarily an English language exam, but you know, we always say English exam. Okay? Again, your test results must be valid for 2 years and ensure that you take the right test, as I said. Now, this is the catch here. Not all tests are acceptable in all schools. So it's also important to know, does your school take all the tests out there, or does it just specialize in, let's say, IELTS? Okay? And then again, the only language that is now accepted, now we have two that are accepted by immigration. We have the IELTS and we have the PTE when it comes to study permits. There are other tests that are not accepted by immigration for study purposes. So which are the acceptable languages when you want to come here study in Canada? Number one is IELTS, IELTS, academic, okay? And usually they need an overall of 6.5, and this is usually for school admission. So you need an overall 6.5, that is, and a 6.5 is reading 6, writing 6, listening 6, and speaking 6. So that is a CLB7, my friends, okay? And then, of course, PT is the newly added language test, and usually they take between 56 and 59. That is the score, okay? And then, of course, we have TOEFL. TOEFL is accepted in a lot of schools, and you need around 83. Some schools could be lower, higher, but that is the average score needed. And last but not least, a lot of schools have take Duolingo, and Duolingo, the average is between 110 to 120. Okay, so again, my friend, before you go taking these tests, understand why you're taking them. Are they important? Are they required? Must you take them? Because this is money and time and stress. Okay, guys? So anyway, thank you so much for being with me here. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe, like, and share this video. And if you need our services, again, head on to our website and book a consultation with me, and I'll see you in my next video.